Welcome back to episode 6 of the day after. And this one, guys, is a special one. Arsenal FC. So, first of all, the last time that we played Arsenal, two differing circumstances. First of all, it was Amarim's first few games, and Arteta was just getting back into the zone. So, he had beaten Sporting, he'd beaten West Ham, scoring 5 in each. And then we went to the Emirates, still figuring out how do we play our style. And that showed very evidently there. But we still had a decent performance in the first half, then second half, Arsenal took their chances, blah, 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 and we did not. But that happens. Which is why Arsenal ended up winning that game. But fast forward just 1 month, and now we will see that people, including Arsenal fans and United fans, are taking the game very differently. Before the Liverpool game, we would have said Arsenal is going to smack us. Before the Newcastle game, Arsenal fans would have been confident they would beat us. So, does one game really change things? Well, to an extent, yes. Because if you see the way that we played against Liverpool, we stifled their offense. And that was our main problem. Because we know that their midfield is high pressing. We know they are high intensity. And we were still able to deal with it. Arsenal's midfield operates in a similar way. Only thing is, they play with almost 6 defenders in the team. They play 2 holding midfielders, and then they'll somehow, Arteta is going to play Partey at right back, even though it makes no sense. And we're essentially going to go up against a back 6. So, it's going to be a game where, of course, we know that Arsenal will score with a set piece. Because why? Well, we know Arsenal are good with set pieces, to the point where one of their set piece coaches has a mural outside the Emirates. You can say that's a small club mentality. I would say it is, because it's just a few games and you didn't even win anything with it, but they still do it. Anyways, that's Arsenal for you. And so, even with Gabriel in the team now, you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to score 1 at least. But I don't think they score any more than that. Because guess what? Before the game, what did we say? Saka's not there. Now, Waneri was a threat, but apparently now he's injured as well. So, them missing Saka and Nwaneri, who are both outlets, that's a big, big miss. Now what? They're going to play what? Martinelli, Trossard and Jesus. If we play the right lineup, right, which I will discuss in a bit, what the lineup should be, who should be field. So, Arsenal, Stoke City FC, they're going to play with just their corners, and that is their only threat. And when we give them corners, and I hope we don't give them as many corners as last time, but if we do, we will end up regretting it. Especially in the Liverpool game, we showed that we can play a counter-attacking system with vertical passing. Essentially what the Klopp Liverpool used to do. Maybe not to that degree, but we are getting there. You see what I meant? If you guys check what I said before the Bournemouth game, I said, that's 2 teams who are trying to play like Liverpool used to. Bournemouth, further away in their process. We are just starting our process. But I see similarities between us now and Liverpool in 2018-19. Only difference is, we don't have the finished article. We don't have a Salah. We don't have a Mane. We don't have a Wijnaldum. We don't have a Fabinho. We don't have a Trent. And we certainly don't have an Alisson. If you play this lineup, I think we can end Arsenal's season by Sunday. So, starting in goal, Onana. Well, it has to be. It can't be by India. And in defense, I would go with Lenny Yoro, Maguire and De Ligt. Why? Because you need height for obviously the set pieces. We need to deal with the set pieces. So what do we need? We need height. And for that, Lenny Yoro comes in the team, not Mazraoui. Now, going into the midfield, Casemiro and Ugarte. But that's not happening. So another alternative, Bruno and Ugarte. It has to be Bruno and Ugarte. Definitely should not be MAINOO and Ugarte. Because regardless of what you think of Bruno, and yes, he had a good performance at Anfield. But the thing is with Bruno, he does track back and he's a better defender than MAINOO, which is why I would put him in the pivot, if not Casemiro. Now, at wing backs, I would play 2 wingers. Why? Because Arsenal is in a shaky state. And we know that they do not pose any attacking threat like that because, guess what? They don't have Saka and Nwaneri, and those are the 2 players I'm actually scared of. So now, on the wings, they have Trossard and Martinelli, who, if it's their best of days, yes, they could cause problems, but I think on a normal day, we'd be just fine. So, play 2 wingers. And who are these 2 wingers, you might ask? Well, I would say Anthony, and on the left, yes, I would pick Garnacho. Why? Not because he's an amazing footballer, not because he's somebody I rate at all, but just the fact that we need a winger there instead of a wing back. We know Dalot certainly does not work there. So the next best thing that we can do is drop a winger in there. After Garnacho at left wing back, you have the front three. And these front three pretty much speaks itself if you ask me. Højlund has been absolutely trash. He was bad against Liverpool. He's been bad against Newcastle, Wolves, Bournemouth, you name it really. He's been bad in all the games that I've just mentioned. And you can take City, and you can take Arsenal, and you can take Nottingham Forest. But Højlund still plays regardless of all this. Why? Why not Zirkzee? I couldn't tell you. But we need to play with three players who can link up play. So this means Ahmad on the right, MAINOO on the left, and Zirkzee up top. Why do I say these three? Well, if you think about it, are we going to get past Arsenal's backline with pace? Obviously not. Because why? They have Gabriel, they have Saliba, and they play with the back six. Now, are we going to get past them with aerial dominance, with physicality? No. Why? Because again, Gabriel and Saliba are very solid in the air. And so is Declan Rice, so is Partey. The whole reason why we're conceding from corners. So, if you ignore pace, if you ignore physical ability, who does this rule out? This rules out one man, and that is Rasmus Højlund. Why? Because, just tell me, isn't these the two things that you guys hype him up for? His pace and his physical ability, even though he has neither of them. In this matchup, there's no uses for him at all. So this means Zirkzee, Ahmad and MAINOO should be the front three. And we know Arsenal's weak side is the left-hand side and our strength is the right-hand side, and vice versa on Arsenal's side. But yes, so the only difference is they don't have Saka this time, they don't have Nwaneri. So even with their set pieces, yes, Declan Rice is a threat, but Saka is also a very good set piece taker, which is taken out of the game. So with that, what do I think will happen in this Arsenal game? I've heard that it goes to penalties after full time. So if that is to be the case, then I think what will happen is we draw 1-1 at full time and then we take it in penalties and then we win. I was very skeptical heading into the league game because I think you guys know I said around a 2-1 or a 3-1 to Arsenal for the league game. But this one, guys, they don't have the threat that they used to. And also, their form is not as good as it was when they came into the league game. You can say a draw at Anfield, considering where Liverpool is and considering where United is almost like 2 wins. We're not saying it is, but it would feel like that for the players at least. So it's like coming off the back of 2 wins. So we have a bit more momentum than Arsenal. And I think that should just take us across the line. Now, away from the Arsenal game, let me talk about this one thing. So I heard that Chelsea is interested in MAINOO and Ineos is considering selling Garnacho and MAINOO to pretty much go on with the cost-cutting thing that they're trying to implement. Trying to cut costs for the mistakes that the Glazers made. Now, people were saying, you can't do that because MAINOO's from Carrington. I'll be Ineos out if you do that. But guys, let's take it, right? Honestly, let's say, right, we get 90 million from MAINOO. Are you not taking that? Now, some of you might say, no, what are you thinking about? Hell no. And I like MAINOO. You guys probably know I like MAINOO a lot. But still, I would take that 90 million. You know why? Because in a rebuild, as good as they may be, right, from this squad, there's only 2 players that I see are irreplaceable, that we cannot replace. That is Ahmad and Euro. Those are the only 2 I see. And I would say, even if we get that money, how the hell are we going to replace them? Other than them 2, I think we can replace anybody in this squad. Anybody. And that includes MAINOO. So if you can give me a good offer, if you give me a 90 million or 100 million, I mean, maybe we don't replace MAINOO directly, but maybe you get Nuno Mendes at left wing back. Maybe you get Cunha at a 10. And now we've improved 2 positions. And now MAINOO is shipped off. And maybe them 2 help us move in our process faster. And then maybe we can sell them for even more profit. And then we can move faster as a club. But then if we hold on to sentimentality like this, like, oh, we can't sell MAINOO, even though I know that's not going to happen. But still, let's say it was a possibility. I don't know why you would think that's a bad thing. Because, okay, academy graduates is one thing, but we don't care about that. We just want to win, right? Why do you support the club? To support academy graduates or to win? It's that dilemma, really. And the case with Ineos as well, guys. People say Ineos is doing a bad job because they're laying people off, because they're cost cutting. But you think about it, it is not their fault. All the financial troubles that we have right now is not because of Ineos, it's because of the Glazers. If you want more money now, what are 2 things you can do? Number 1, either you boost your revenue, or number 2, you have to cut costs. So if not for these 2, there is no way that you can increase your profit margin. So if you want to increase your profit margin now, we can see revenue wise, well, there's not much more we can do. We are one of the most marketable clubs in the world and we have some of the best deals in the world. But at the same time, if we don't make Champions League this season, which is 99% likely, then we're not going to get that Adidas deal of 90 million. So that's another thing cut off. So you can already see revenues going down. So now you can't increase your revenue from last year. So now the only thing that you can do to sustain profitability, to make sure that the club runs good, is that you ensure that your costs go down. If you want your costs to go down, you have player wages, you have staff wages, staff who are redundant, who are not really doing a job, some staff who are being overpaid, and even players who are being overpaid, which is why, as much as I like Casemiro, we have to come to the reality that he's paid too much money and we need to restructure everything. So when we say everything, that includes a wage bill as well. So when we're talking about the wage bill, we have to cut out all the top earners. So this means Rashford's out, this means Casemiro is out, this means Bruno will be out soon, this will mean Mount, this will mean Anthony, and everybody above 200k has to leave. That is all, simple as. So before you say that you're Ineos out or why are they cutting costs, think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. What would you do better? Because they've hired the best in class, or so we say, in all the board departments. So whether that's Omar Berrada, whether that's Wilcox, whether that's Christopher Vivell, these are some of the biggest names in football, you know. And Dan Ashworth was signed, but he was sacked. You know why? Because he wasn't good enough. And if you're not good enough, you get sacked. That's the rule of life. If you're not good enough, you are sacked. And that's what happened. And so Ineos is doing what they're supposed to. Everybody thinks, oh, we should be spending like before. We spent 89 million on Pogba in 2016. Why can't we do that again? No, guys, that's not how it works. We had to pay for the mistakes of those guys. We paid 90 million for Anthony. We overpaid too much. We paid 60 million for Casemiro. Too much. We paid 89 million for Pogba. Again, too much. And don't forget, 80 million for Harry Maguire as well. We paid 72 million for Rasmus Højlund, 60 million for Mount, 50 million for Onana. These mistakes are going to catch up to you at some point. You know what this reminds me of? Well, it's not that bad, but Barcelona, guys. Barcelona, signed Griezmann for some 105 million, Ousmane Dembele for some 136, and Coutinho for 142. And guess what happened to them eventually? That, coupled with the stadium rebuild, eventually made it so that they are broke to the point they couldn't even register Olmo and Kubasi till yesterday. So don't be surprised, guys, when the stadium rebuild happens, if we are in the exact same position where we'll be struggling to do this and that. We won't be able to sign players for maybe 2-3 seasons. That will happen, which is why I'm saying prepare for that right now. And speaking of preparing for things right now, do not forget, guys, the objective in the league this season from this point on is not top 4, is not top 6, not top 8, not even top 10. For me, all it is survival. 40 points is all I'm looking at, guys, because we have to treat United not like the big club that they are, but at the moment, we are in the gutter. So till next season, we have to just treat them like that. This season, I would still say, do not rule out. Just because we got a draw at Anfield doesn't change anything, guys. We are still in a relegation battle. We're not going to get relegated, but the target is 40 points. After 40 points, anything we get is just extra, you know. So yeah, no, I just had to make that clear that the expectations shouldn't be too inflated just because we drew against Liverpool. We are still in the same position. And if any game goes wrong, it could be this one. Why? Because we've had a habit of doing this in the past. What happened when we beat Man City at the Etihad 2-1? In the next game, we went and lost to Bournemouth. The same thing had happened years back, if you guys remember. In the Centurion season, we went to the Etihad, came back from 2-0 down, 1-3-2, amazing victory, amazing performance, blah, blah, blah. And then what happened in the next game? Old Trafford, we lost 1-0 to West Brom, who got relegated that season. This happens, guys. We always have it. Think about Paris. Remember when we won in Paris with Rashford's last-minute penalty? What happened in the next game? Do you guys remember? We lost 3-1 to Arsenal, funnily enough, at the Emirates in the league. And the same thing could happen again, guys. So just because, and I know we didn't win this one, but let's just hope that the players don't get carried away by this either. Just because Arsenal has a weak team does not mean Arsenal can't beat us. It can happen. But if we can build on the Liverpool draw with a win at the Emirates, now I'll be more confident that we can change things. Now, I want to see that till 2nd February, We win every single game. If we don't win every single game, even if there's one draw, whether that's Europa League, whether that's Premier League, if there's even one draw in there, I'm not convinced that we can turn it around. But if it's a winning run on the way, then I'll be a bit more confident that we can do something. Till then, hold on to your horses, guys. That's all I can say. But anyway, guys, put down in the comments what you think will happen in the Arsenal game on Sunday. Do you think we'll win? Do you think we'll go out? Do you think we can embarrass Arsenal? Because if there's one thing, I would love to beat Arsenal. Why? It's because of their fan base as well. Some parts of their fan base, let me add. Because from everything I've been seeing about Arsenal, Arsenal fans are desperate for approval. They just want to be proven right. They just want to be proven that, oh my God, my team is so good, it's better than everybody else, even if they're not doing anything. Which is the reason why Arsenal are in the position they are. Because they kept backing Arteta, some process just because they played good football, even though they bottled the league 2 years in a row. And maybe you could say a third year in a row this year. And it's probably only now, after the Newcastle game, that people are turning against Arteta. But guys, it's too late for you guys. But I hope some of you change your mind. And I hope your club stays where they are. I hope we dump you out of the FA Cup. And that is all I want anyway, at least from Sunday's game. So, what do you guys think? Comment down below and see you on the next one.